The agenda.
209 South 5th Street has been deferred. 422 Broadway has been deferred till next month. And 1218 6th Avenue is removed from the agenda because they made some changes so that it could be administratively issued, the permit administratively issued.
Mind doing that one more time?
Sure. 209 South 5th Street is deferred. 422 Broadway is deferred. 1218 6th Avenue North is removed.
Removed, okay. Okay, commissioners, do you see those changes to a motion to accept the agenda?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Okay, motion carries. Are there any council members here today? Seeing none, won't worry about that. Do we have a motion to approve last month's meeting minutes? Second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Okay, motion carries. Cut it off. For each case, there will be a public hearing. We ask that the applicant keep their presentation to under 10 minutes. They may reserve 2 minutes as a rebuttal. So that's 8 minutes, and then you keep 2 minutes at the end. We ask that the public keep their comments to 2 minutes unless they're representing an organization or a group, and they may have 5 minutes. To appeal decisions of the Historic Zoning Commission. Pursuant to the provision of Section 2.68.03 of the Metropolitan Code of Laws, notice is hereby given that a final hearing before this commission is appealable to the Chancery Court of Davidson County or the Circuit Court of Davidson County via statutory writ of certiorari. You're advised to seek your own independent legal counsel to ensure that your appeal is filed in a timely manner and that all procedural requirements are met. You should also seek independent legal advice regarding the applicability of the writ of certiorari to the specific decision of the Historic Zoning Commission. Our next item is the consent agenda. Items on the consent agenda will be voted on at a single time. No individual public hearing will be held, nor will the commission debate these items unless a member of the audience or the commission requests that the item be removed from the consent agenda.
The consent agenda today consists of 5 items. 1430B Greenwood Avenue is an application for new construction infill, revision to an approved design. 1205 4th Avenue North, that is new construction alteration. 2510 Belmont Boulevard, new construction and outbuilding, detached accessory dwelling unit, and an addition. 1513 Elmwood Avenue is new construction of an addition. And 1400 Ordway Place is new construction of infill with a setback determination, also revision to an approved design.
Okay, any questions for Sean regarding any items on the consent agenda?
I'll say staff has reviewed these cases, found that they meet their respective design guidelines, and recommends approval with the conditions outlined in their staff recommendations.
Okay, thank you, Sean. Open public hearing. Would anyone like to request any of these items be removed from the consent agenda? Seeing none, close public hearing. Do I have a motion to accept?
So moved.
We have a motion. We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, motion carries. So we have no overlay recommendations or previously referred items. So the next item is 131 2nd Avenue North.
Was not original and so approved to be replaced with a series of French doors as seen elsewhere on 2nd Avenue. An example of what you see on 2nd Avenue is that bottom picture. The top picture is how it looked prior to permitting a new storefront, and then the right picture is the very bottom of what has been done. Historically, bulkheads or the lower panels of doors were all in one plane, like you see in that bottom picture, just above a stone sill, and I've pointed out the stone sill in the top 2 pictures. The design guidelines allow for replacement storefronts and display windows when the original does not exist, but require storefronts to use the arrangement, features, materials, and proportions typically found on buildings of the same style and period of the building, and for replacement display windows to be appropriate for the building style and period. As constructed, the multiple planes of the lower portion of that storefront do not match historic configurations. The project was approved with the low bulkhead as existing, but with a simpler design and French doors above, and that original drawing with the approval is in part of your packet. However, the bulkhead area was constructed as a step with a second step added above. Because the two steps are not consistent with historic storefronts or with this particular building storefront seen to the right of the brick pillar, staff finds that it does not meet Section 2A3 and 2C3. Staff recommends disapproval, finding the project does not meet those two sections of the guidelines and does not match the 2014 permit drawings, and also recommends that it be corrected within 90 days. Do you have any questions for me?
Thanks, Robin. Would the applicant like to come forward and state your case? Is the applicant here? No? Okay. Okay. Open public hearing. Would anyone like to speak regarding this case? Seeing none, close public hearing. Discussion?
I'd just like to make an observation and ask you, Robin, I would like to ask you a question here. This is the 5-story building on 2nd Avenue North on the west side, and it's one of my favorite buildings on the street. And I noticed that for like a year and a half, they had a cover over this. And I was just wondering, if you see something like that in the historic area, do you ask to look under the cover to see what they're doing, or do you just wait until they present it?
That's a good question. It was actually covered longer than I thought it was. I think it was even longer than that. But anyway, actually, the assumption was that they hadn't done the work yet. We didn't know. They didn't call for any inspections, and so we didn't realize any work had taken place until the cover came off.
Right. It was just, I always wondered what was going on behind that cover.
Yes, we should have checked.
So, okay.
Another, I guess, for discussion or maybe a question for staff in that, is this all of the documentation, I guess, that was submitted by the applicant for the project?
The applicant did not submit any documentation for this violation. Just
from
that.
the 14.
Right.
Yeah.
That drawing is the only one submitted for that 2014 permit.
I just have a question since the applicant is not here. Does that, have you heard that they were wanting to just hear it, or were they ready to make the comply with it, or
No, they requested to be on the agenda this month.
they just were not here? Would it, well, let's say, would there be any reason to defer it, but I guess we'll take it as it is. Any other questions from anyone? Do we have a motion?
I do have a comment, and that is, I don't think that the drawings they're showing here are so schematic that it's hard to say that, and obviously what they put in is not what the intent of the code is or what the.
Okay.
It's not what the intent of the guidelines are, or what would have been expected there. So I would just recommend that as the staff review their corrective replacement, that they ask for a little bit more detail on the drawings so that we can hold them to that. With that said, though, I move for disapproval based on staff recommendations.
Okay. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Any other discussion? Okay. All in favor? All opposed? Okay. Motion carries. Since 1402 is deferred. 1304 Gartland Avenue.
Okay. 1304 Gartland Avenue is a circa 1904 Victorian cottage that contributes to the Lockland Springs Neighborhood Conservation Zoning overlay. The one-story house sits mid-block between 12th and 14th Streets. At issue today is an existing outbuilding which appears to have been on the lot since at least 1969, possibly earlier. The owner would like to legally convert this outbuilding to a detached accessory dwelling unit. In order to receive a DADU permit, the structure must meet the DADU requirements or be approved by this commission. Staff could not administratively approve the DADU conversion due to issues with materials, roof slope, and side setback. Thus, we've brought it before you today. You can see this photo is from 1986, and you can see the outbuilding there in the back. Here's the existing outbuilding as viewed from the backyard. The outbuilding is approximately 320 square feet, 420 if you include the porch. At the highest point, it's approximately 10 feet tall with an eave height of about 7.5 feet. Staff finds that the structure meets the DADU guidelines in terms of size and massing. Here is a rear picture of the unit from the alley. It has a shed roof that slopes back towards the alley. The roof slope is approximately 112. This form and slope are appropriate and common for an outbuilding in the immediate area, but the DADU guidelines require a roof slope of 412. Staff finds the roof slope does not meet the DADU guidelines. In terms of materials, the outbuilding is clad in T111 siding, which is specifically listed in the guidelines as an unapproved material. Further, the windows are unapproved windows. The installation of these materials on the existing outbuilding is not something that MHZC reviews. However, in order to receive a DADU permit, those materials are now subject to review. Staff finds the outbuilding does not meet the guidelines in terms of materials. Seen here in yellow, the outbuilding sits about 42 feet from the main house, 5 feet from the rear property line, and 28.5 feet from the west property line. All of these distances meet the setback requirements. However, the outbuilding sits only 1 foot from the east property line. The guidelines require a 3-foot side setback. You should have all received a letter of support from the adjacent neighbor at 1306 Gartland Avenue. As referenced in that email, the applicant and the neighbor constructed this fence together several years ago along the property line. Here you can see the distance from the fence to the side of the outbuilding. In conclusion, the existing outbuilding has been on the lot for nearly 50 years. The neighboring property owners do not object to its proximity to their side lot line. The applicant is willing to modify the unit to receive approval for a DADU permit and has even agreed to reclad the outbuilding in an approved material. However, because the DADU requirements and design guidelines require a 3-foot side setback, staff recommends disapproval of the application, finding that the outbuilding does not meet the requirements of the ordinance or the design guidelines in terms of side setback. I know the applicant is here today and wants to present her case. Do you guys have questions for me first?
Not yet. Maybe, though. Would the applicant like to come forward and state your case and say your name and address, please?
My name is Allison Edwards, and the address is 1304 Gartland Avenue. And as Jenny said today, that when I bought the house in 2010, it had an outbuilding, and as I looked at the records, it was constructed before the DADU requirements. And I have been using that as an Airbnb, and lately they have said that it's not okay because it does not meet DADU requirements. So today, my request is that it would be grandfathered in with the permission of my neighbor, who is a good friend of mine. Who, sorry she couldn't be here today. She's in Canada, but my request is that it would be approved based on the grandfathered process.
Okay, and you're just a question. So, were you making any changes to it at all, or leaving it as is?
I was going to leave it as is, unless there was changes that I'd have to make. But yeah, as is.
Okay. Does anyone have questions for the applicant at this time? Okay. As we dig into it, we may have others, but thank you.
Okay.
Okay. Open public hearing. Would anyone in the audience like to speak regarding this project? Okay. Close public hearing. Discussion.
I have a question. Actually, I should have asked it before she sat down. Sorry. Can you tell us when this outbuilding was put into service as a Airbnb or a money-making detached, something that someone would dwell in, since you've owned it or in the recent past?
Since I've owned it.
So it was that use before you purchased the property?
Before I used it, the people I bought it from said that there was a couple living there, and that they had agreed to be divorced, but he moved out there. So I don't think he wanted to leave the property, but they had enough space. So I believe there was a man living there before I bought the house, which was renovated before I bought it. So
Sure. When was that purchased?
2010.
Great, thanks.
Nothing right now, but just be ready, maybe. So let me ask about the fact that it was already there. I guess I could look at you. It was already there. Is it because of the new use that they're asking for? I mean, can you explain that part? And you did maybe once again, if you could do it again.
Sure. So, right, in order to have an Airbnb permit, the property has to be permitted as a DADU. And it's currently a grandfathered outbuilding. It's been there for at least 50 years, we think. But now if they want to get a DADU permit, they have to bring it up to the DADU standards. So,
Further clarification from legal on that. Is the DADU a designation or is it a use?
It's a designation, I believe. If you see, there's a slide that has the code that specifically talks about those detached accessory dwelling units. And so we would not be reviewing the use, as you guys know. It's just a portion of the codes references the Historic Zoning Commission. And so since the Historic Zoning Commission is referenced, it has to come to you guys to make sure it adheres to those standards that you do review. But so the whole conversation about Airbnb and what it's being used for, none of that would be the topic of conversation for you guys.
I feel like the previous discussions of the outbuildings turning into DADUs, I think that's, I guess, what the DADU, and what we've directed staff, with the information to make it, the outbuilding and the DADU guidelines the same, correct? That's what we've kind of said here in the last year, because we were having instances, and maybe for our newer people that, we built an outbuilding recently. Like, these are people that have owned the home, and they built the outbuilding. So, we built an outbuilding because the guidelines were a little more lenient, and then they wanted to kind of get it changed as well, it's already there, and then now we want it to be a DADU.
The old bait and switch.
The old bait and switch. Yeah, so we had so many of those. It's like, well, we built this outbuilding, and now we want it to be a DADU. And so we've kind of gotten staff to say, let's just have them the same so that it's more clear to applicants. In case it was errant, that they did this, or if it was on purpose, not up to us. But I don't know. I feel like for me in this case, it's already there. It's been there. I feel like it's almost historic in itself. So I don't have a problem with this being a DADU because of the situation, and I don't think it sets any, precedent because it's been there so long, and this. I don't think we're encountering the situation of someone building an outbuilding and then trying to get it changed into a DADU that we have in the past. So I don't think it's the same situation in my mind. So I don't personally have an issue with it. It's already there. It's been there for a long time, and it seems like the immediate neighbor now, but it's going to be there. So I don't have a problem with it.
I think this is clearly one of those situations where if these plans were presented to us as a new one, it would be a no-brainer to deny it and reject it because it does miss the guidelines. However, with it being a 50-year-old structure and with the structure apparently being reasonably unchanged from, we don't know what it was originally, and the photos are limited, but it doesn't appear that it's changed significantly. I think that Jenny's comment that the roof slope is not atypical for that type of historic structure helps me out a lot. I think the material does not feel like an original material on that structure. The T111 siding is more of a recent material, and so I would feel better if there was a different material on the outside. But as far as the historic structure there, I can see waiving the roof slope requirement and even the setback from the side property line with the neighbor's consent.
I'm generally in agreement with what's been stated by the commissioners so far in that, especially for location. It seems to me the DADU guidelines were very specific and prescriptive to make something subservient. And limit roof slopes and limit size. And this one really isn't pushing those boundaries. It just happens to be located closer to the property line, which is not atypical for, that we see that a lot in outbuildings or in structures and have permitted that, again, if it were new construction or a bait and switch sort of scenario. That I just don't see that in this case at all. I do also agree, or I agree with Cyril's point about the siding and bringing it closer to compliance, but certainly to tear it down and move it 2 feet over to allow the owner to use it seems a standard that in my mind is we've allowed similar in the past.
If in the future this applicant or a new owner would come back and say, I want it to be a second floor, so we would have another different review in that, right? So that we're not really backing ourselves into a corner, like I said, the switch and bait, to where in the future, if that happens, we would have, again, some discerning decisions on that. Just, okay, good.
Yeah, I feel comfortable with that kind of the conversation too. Maybe we could get a motion, and then even if we need staff to help us if there's any questions to that motion before we approve it, that might be good.
Mr. Chairman, I recommend that with regard to 1304 Gartland Avenue, that the application for this as a dado be approved with the stipulation that the exterior materials be brought into compliance, the exterior vertical siding be brought into compliance with the guidelines.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay. Before we approve, though, I just want to ask staff, is that clear? Is there any other information we need from that? Okay, great. All right, we have a motion with a second. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Okay, motion carries. So the last one on our agenda today is 1715 Sweetbriar Avenue.
1715 Sweetbriar Avenue is an application for demolition of the existing house and construction of new infill. The existing house at 1715 Sweetbriar was constructed circa 1950, later than the historic houses in the immediate vicinity. This block of Sweetbriar Avenue largely developed from 1900 to the 1930s. This house is the only house on the block that was built from the 1940s through the 1950s. As such, it is an anomaly for this part of Sweetbriar. In addition, the house's materials, form, and architectural details do not meet the historic context. Staff found that 1715 Sweetbriar Avenue does not contribute to the historic character of the Belmont-Hillsborough Neighborhood Conservation Zoning Overlay and finds that its demolition meets the design guidelines. So you can see the site plan there to the left. The new proposed infill will meet all base zoning setbacks. Its front setback will be similar to the front setback of the existing structure on the site. This proposed front setback is approximately 33 feet, 8 inches from the front property line, and it is in between the front setbacks of the two adjacent houses. Staff recommends inclusion of a front walkway from the sidewalk to the infill's front entryway. Here's an image of the front facade. The proposed infill is 1.5 stories, which staff finds to be appropriate since the house to the left of the site is a true 1-story house, and the house to the right is a 2-story. Actually, I'll just skip ahead quickly. So on the top is the house to the immediate right. And on the top on this slide is a house to the immediate left. So it's small 1-story next to a taller 2-story. So we felt that a 1.5 was a good scale for this site. The height of the infill is proposed to be 28 feet 6 inches above the foundation, which staff finds to be appropriate. In the immediate vicinity, heights of contributing houses range from 22 feet to 37 feet. The known materials meet the design guidelines, with staff's final approval of all material choices. Here are the side facades. The site slopes quite dramatically from the front to the back, and because of that slope and the drop in slope, the applicant is able to get a attached garage at the basement level in the rear, which staff finds to be appropriate and does meet the design guidelines. And again, here are the context photos. So the house on the top is the house to the immediate right, and the other two houses are houses looking further down Sweetbriar to the right. The house on the top is the house to the immediate left, and then on the bottom are houses across the street, and here are some more houses across the street. So in conclusion, staff is recommending approval with the following conditions. The finished floor height be consistent with the finished floor heights of the adjacent historic houses. A front walkway be added leading from the sidewalk to the front stoop. And staff approve the walkway material. Staff approve materials of the front stoop steps and stairs. Staff approve the final details, dimensions, and materials of windows and doors. Staff approve the roof color, and staff approve the location of the HVAC. So with these conditions, staff finds that the project meets the design guidelines for the Belmont-Hillsborough neighborhood.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for staff?
I do, just as a matter of reference.
Sure.
Like, how many years is it up for a building structure to be considered contributing?
So this is an interesting case because this block of Sweetbriar developed from about 1900 to 1930. So the contributing houses on the block are all between 1900 and 1930. The next block over on Sweetbriar, the 1800 block, if you looked at directories, its development didn't even start until like the 1940s. So this house on this block we've determined to be non-contributing, but if it was on the other block where there's a whole collection of houses from that era, it would be non-contributing. And that's just the date, but there's kind of the form and the style of the house. We felt that, within this historic context, with the houses are just of a different era, less the minimal traditionals that you might find in other parts of Belmont-Hillsborough, and more the four-square. There's several four-squares on this block, and the craftsman, the more high-style craftsman houses. Does that answer your questions? So it's not the date. We don't necessarily always set a date. It can kind of vary from what was that period development for that block.
Okay, that makes sense. It's not just a matter of 50 years or 40 years, that kind of...
Right.
Okay. Okay.
Again, there are some houses in some neighborhoods, where a 1950s house would be contributing, but we felt it was an anomaly on this block.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any more questions for staff? Okay, thank you. Would the applicant like to come forward and state your case?
You know the applicant, right? No,
Okay.
They're not here.
Okay, the applicant, that's, okay. Open public hearing. Would anyone like to speak regarding the project? Seeing none, close public hearing. Do we have any discussion or a motion?
Move approval with staff's recommendation.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Okay, motion carries. That ends the Metro Historic Zoning Commission actions, but we'll move on to CLG training.
This has been a service of the Metro Nashville Network. If you would like to see this presentation again, or for more information about this and other programs, visit nashville.gov.